This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, everyone. So let's run our application. All right. So in our last class, we successfully completed all the CRUD operations, CUD. Now we are able to create the employee. We are able to display the employee as well as edit the employee, and we are able to delete the employee. So all these things we are able to do. Now we are entering into the next stage of our application, and that is we are adding a new table, and that is the table about the projects of the employee. So each and every employee might have developed multiple projects. So that project information we are going to store in a new table. So let's come and create a new table for each employee. So we are going to create a new table. The table name is projects, and we are going to create the entry of project information for each employee in that table. So I'm going to SE11. Let us give the name of this table as ZB70 underscore projects. This table will store all the projects. Let's click on create B70 projects table as a description. And as usually, select delivery class as A and delivery maintenance allowed. Now go to fields. I'm giving employee ID, project. So every project has some code. So that is what I'm saying as project code. And then client name, for which client you are working, and client name, then project name, and team size. And if you want to write something about project description, that also you can keep project description, project name, project description, and team size. So what is the size of your team in that project? So I'm giving employee ID and project code both as a primary key. So why we need to give two primary keys here? Because one employee would have done more than a project. So in that case, so let's say Venki has two projects experience, then two rows will be available in the projects table. So when he has two rows in the projects table, so both of these rows should be unique. Since employee ID is always repeated for the same employee, so at least the project code should differ. Okay, that is the reason I have given the employee ID and project code both as a primary key. So for example, if I give only employee ID as a primary key, now Venki has done three projects. Now three rows get repeated for Venki, right? Venki project one, Venki project two, Venki project three. Now for all these three rows, what is the employee ID? Venki's employee ID 100002. Correct? Yeah, 100002. So three records gets created in the projects table with the same primary key, which is against the primary key policy. Correct. So that's the reason. Let's give the combination key, employee ID and project code. I hope you understand why I have given like this. Now let's go to CAT 6. and this is also cat6 length. Client name, let's give uh, normally the client name will not take more than 20 characters, so let's give 20 characters. Project name, let's give the project name as 30 characters. Name, project description, so description we can give lengthy description, but I'm giving 100 characters. So here also let's give the client name 30, 100. Team size, so team size we can give an integer. We just need normally team size not more than 10, 15, 20, right? So we can give int 1. This is more than enough. All right, now let us save it. Local object, continue. Let's activate this. So you need to select the data class and size category. Save, go back, continue. Yeah, so the table got activated. So warnings occurred, you can ignore the warnings. Now let's create some entry into this table for at least two employees, Rahul and Venki. And for Mahesh and Sai Krishna, we are going to enter through the application. Okay. So let's come to utilities, table contents, create entries. So I'm going to give the first employee 100001. This is Rahul, and I'm giving some project code for Rahul. Project Rahul 01. So first project, client name. Let me give NGUS. Project name. Uh, Maybe gas distribution. Project name GDFO. Gas distribution front office. Uh, to serve the application for new gas connections to their homes. Something I have given. Okay, so this is one of my old projects, so I have given this. All right, so team size, let me give some 10 and let's save it. Yeah, I'm going to change the employee, that is 100002. This is Venki. So this is project for Venki, VK01. Now let me change this to client name Nokia, and project name is CMS, stands for Claim Management System. Claim Management System, to raise the claims for the defective products received from the vendors. Okay, now the team size 5. All right, save. Now let's create one more project for Winky. So this is another project code. Let me give the client name as Apple. Project name, some AOS tracker. Project description, to track the sales across various Apple authorized centers. Okay. Team size, we'll give the team size as some 8. Click save. All right, we successfully created the table, that is the projects table, and we made the entry against 2 employees, Rahul and Venki. Now let us go and see the contents of this table. So this is the contents of the table, 100001 and 1002. So Venki has 2 rows in this table, whereas Rahul has only 1 row in this table. Okay, and that is the reason we need to give the primary key combination. All right, the next thing is I want this project data also to be displayed when I click on the employee record. The moment I click on this, I can see the employee details, that is fine, but I want to see the project details below. How can you see the project details below? So to do this, in the back end, you need to create a corresponding entity. So we have not created the corresponding entity, we created only the database table. Now let's go to the SCGW, and in the project, let's import this table and create a new entity. Now right click on the data model, use import DDIC structure and give the name of this as let's give this as project entity. Okay, and ABAP structure ZB70 underscore projects. All right, now click next. So it has pulled all the fields. So select the fields, click next, and select the primary key. The primary key is employee ID and project code, and finish. So now a new entity has been created. So let's go to the entity types. Now you can see there is a employee entity, there is a project entity also. Now if you generate the runtime objects, so let us generate the runtime objects. Okay, so runtime objects got generated. So once the runtime objects got generated, the DPC extension class will be refreshed, will get regenerated with all the new methods for the new entity, that is project entity. So if I come down, there will be another 5 set of methods for the project entity. You can see project set underscore create entity, project set underscore delete entity, get entity set, and update entity. Like this, for every entity that you create, the DPC extension class will create the 5 set of methods. But remember, there is no rule that you need to implement all the methods. You just implement as per your requirement. Okay. Now, what is my requirement? My requirement is I want to display the project's information corresponding to an employee. Okay. Right. Now I will be asking a question. See what I want to display. I want to display the project's information of a particular employee. Now tell me what would be the exact method which I need to implement to display this information. I want projects information of a particular employee. Okay. Now, which method I need to implement? So where I need to write the code? Can anybody tell me where I need to write the code? So there are 5 methods in front of you. I want projects information corresponding to a employee. So in which method we need to write the code? You can't be silent because we already at the 80% completion of our training.
Get entity set, Rizwan.
Exactly. So we need to write the code in the project set underscore get underscore entity set. Can you give the reason why only this method? Whoever answered, I think.
Because we want to fetch the project's data, right? For one employee, there could be multiple projects he might work. So because of that, we will
Correct.
use the get
Yeah.
entity method.
Yes. See, from this question, you would have understand that we need to read the data. Okay, I want projects information of a particular employee. So that means I want the data from back end to the front end. So obviously, uh, it cannot be create entity, it cannot be delete entity, it cannot be update entity. So the remaining methods are get entity and get entity set. Out of these methods, we already know that get entity can read only single record. But I said I want projects of a particular employee. We already know that one employee can have multiple projects. So obviously the answer cannot be get entity as well. Get entity can give you only one record of a particular project. If you pass the primary key combination, that is you need to pass the employee ID and that particular project code. If you pass both of them, then only it gives that single project information. Okay. So obviously the answer is project set underscore get underscore entity set because it can give you multiple projects records. Again, my question is not ended. Fine. So we have understand that we need to write the code in the project set underscore get underscore entity set. Okay. So this method can give you all the projects information, all the projects information of the table. But particularly, I want the project information of a particular employee. So let's say 100001. Now tell me, how do you implement this one? Okay, so let's come in this way. If I have to hit the OData service URL, we know that SAP UiFi talks to OData service. Okay, so let me put my question in this way. If I want to get all the employees, what is the OData service URL? My base OData service URL slash employee set. So this gives me all employee data. Okay, correct? Right. So similarly, my question is, uh, if I want to get all projects data, what is the OData service URL? If I want to get all projects data, so what is the OData service URL? Come on.
Project set,
What?
Rizwan.
Huh?
Project set. Like
Project
we
set.
didn't
So
implement
basically,
it.
if you want all projects information, so your OData service URL should be base URL slash project set. Now this particular OData service URL, so let me write projects set I think it is project set. Okay, so this URL will go and call the project set underscore get underscore entity set method, which is present in the DPC extension class. But again, if I hit this URL, it is giving me all the projects information, but my requirement is not to get all the projects information, but I want to get the projects. I want to get the projects, multiple projects only, but corresponding to a particular employee. Now, can anybody tell me what could be the OData service URL to get the projects of a particular employee? So what could be your OData service URL to get that? Come on. Okay, so let me put my question from the known thing to unknown thing. So again, I will just take the employee example so that probably you will be in a position to answer. So this gives me all employee data. If I want the employees whose skill is ABAP, now tell me what is the OData service URL? I want to get the employees whose skill is ABAP. I repeat, I want to get the employees whose skill is ABAP. Now, what is the OData service URL to get that? Haven't we done this? We already done this, right? So skill,
There
ABAP.
is one filter we have to use in the
Now I am
URL.
getting only ABAP people. So how I am getting this? How I am getting that? So somebody said filters, but can you say exactly how the filter we have applied? So we have written question mark dollar filter and we have passed the skill equals to ABAP, isn't it? So this has given me the employees of a particular skill. So can't I do this here? Yes, you can write question mark dollar filter equals to. So in your projects table, there is employee ID also. So EMP ID equals to, so Rahul's EMP ID 100001. That's all. Why are you thinking this much, guys? You just need to apply already what you learned into this one. Is there any? So this is like in mathematics, there is a sum, and I have given the same to same model sum. I not even changed the style of the sum, right? So you should be in a position to answer this. Then what you have learned, right? It's going in a similar way when we already completed the same kind of stuff. So you should correlate this scenario and you should answer it. Okay, you just need to apply the filter. So this is one way, guys. You can get the all projects of an employee by using this. So you need to uh, construct this particular URL and you can get all the projects of a corresponding employee. So if you pass this 100001, you can get it. But SAP UI5, so this is fine from the backend angle. So from the backend angle, it is always good. You can pass the filter and get your projects of a employee. But remember, whenever this kind of parent-child relationship is there, let me open already developed application. So whenever there is a parent and child relation, so this is one such scenario, parent and child relation. So here the parent is employee and the child is the projects. So when displaying the projects of a corresponding employee, so here the employee is Mokshi, to display the projects of this corresponding employee, instead of hitting the URL with this question mark dollar filter equal to, and then the corresponding URL, that is EMP ID equal to some employee ID. The SAP UI5 recommends a separate URL as well as in the front end. It uses a different approach, a very optimized approach in the front end, and that is by creating association between these two entities. By creating association between these two entities. Now, you might think, what is the need of creating this association? I'm already having this OData service URL. So this URL hits the project set underscore get underscore entity set method. So in this method, this filter is already passed. So I will take this filter from IT filter select option table, and I return all the projects of this particular employee 100001. Then what is the need of creating association? If you create the association, things becomes very easy from the SAP UI5 angle. This might not be much useful in the backend, but the backend is there for the front end, right? Why we are creating all this backend? For your front end. If there is no front end, there is no need of OData also. Okay, so this particular concept is called association. So create the relation between the entities. So this is called association. Association is nothing but creating the relationship between the entities, and these relationships are 1:1 relation and 1:n relation. Means for one record of the parent entity in the child table, there will be one record only. So this is called 1:1 relation. For one record in the parent table, you can have n number of records in the child table. So this is our case. This is our case. And in real time, 99% you will have this case only. So this particular case is very rare. Okay, so give me a second, guys. All right. So 99% of the real-time cases will be 1:n. Okay, one record in the parent will have n number of records in the child table. So in our case, the employee table, so one record of the employee table will have n number of records in the projects table. All right. So how to establish this relationship, and what is the advantage you will get if you establish this relationship? I will show you. So by the end of the day, we are going to display this employee's details in our display screen. Sorry, the project's details in the display screen. So let's go back and create the association between employees and projects. So right click on the data model to create association. So you need to give some association name. Normally we give the association name as employees to projects. So we give the parent entity and the child entity, and in between we give two. Okay, employees to projects. And in this box, we need to select the entity type name of the principal entity. So principal means parent entity. The parent entity is employee, and the child entity is dependent entity is the projects. So remember, this is parent entity, this is dependent entity, nothing but child entity, and the cardinality we need to select 1 to n. Okay, so as I told you, I have done many projects, and most of the projects will have 1:n only. Even if you have 1:1 also, you don't need to worry. Okay, the process is same. And here, the most important part of this screen is this navigation property. This navigation property. So what is this navigation property and what we need to enter here? So at this moment, I will tell you what to enter in this navigation property, but I will explain what is the importance of this navigation property later in today's class only. Okay. In a navigation property, you need to write uh, TO2 and the child entity's name. Okay, so two projects. Technically, you can give any name here. This is a naming convention, that's all. You can give ABCD also here. But SAP asks us to follow this naming convention, and that is you need to write TO2 and then the child entity's name, and that is two projects. Okay. Now, where is this navigation property will help us? So let us see. I'm just keeping this, noting down this navigation property, two projects. Click next. And here you need to select the dependent property, that is foreign key you need to select. So, which is the foreign key for projects table. Employee ID is the foreign key for the projects table, right? So employee ID is a primary key in the employees table. So if you have the same employee ID in other tables, so that is called the foreign key. So the dependent property in the project table is employee ID. So you need to select it. Click next and finish. Now the association has been formed. Again, you need to generate the runtime objects because any change to the data model requires the regeneration of the runtime objects. All right. Now all of you observe, guys. Let me just go to the metadata document of this. Now in the metadata document, you will find a new association. Okay, so that you established between the employees and the projects. So you can clearly see that this particular association name and the association is between employee entity and the project entity, and the cardinality is one employee can have star means any number of projects information. Okay, yeah, and the primary key is employee ID, the foreign key is employee ID. Okay, right. Okay, so we established the association between the projects and employees and projects. Now you need to understand what advantage you got. You created association, fine. Now tell me what is the advantage that you got. The advantage is to get the projects of a particular employee, we need to construct this URL and hit this URL to the backend. But if you create the association, we don't construct this URL, but instead with another URL. Okay. Now, even that is also a URL, this is also a URL, then what is the advantage you will get? So just wait. In this screen, in this particular screen, to display the data of a employee, to display the data of a particular employee, so what is the URL we hit to the backend? So we hit, where is my employees? Yeah. Can anybody tell me to display this particular single record of this employee, what is the OData service URL we hit to the backend? Anybody? To display this single record of this employee, what is the OData service URL we hit to the backend? See, when I'm clicking on this one, how I am getting this? I'm getting the single record data. How I am getting the single record data?
You are passing employee ID,
What? How I am passing?
dollar, sorry, question mark, filters,
No,
employee.
no, 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 no. To get the single employee, you just need to pass that primary key within the round brackets, and that's all. You will get the data. Okay, so there is a read method. Okay, why we no need to go for the get entity set method. We are just reading this particular employee data. So if you see your my God, this is gone. So if you see your view to controller, in the view to controller, what you have done? So let me show you. You people are simply forgetting. Yeah. So if you see this particular line, this dot get view dot bind element, and using bind element slash employee set, and within the round brackets the employee ID. So what is this? This is nothing but this one. When you hit this URL, you will get only the corresponding data of a particular employee, and this data will be binded directly to your view, to your simple form. Okay. And now, if you build the association on the same URL, if you simply append slash the two projects, so this will go and hit, even this go and hit project set underscore get underscore entity set. See, the URL started with employee set, but it is calling project set underscore get entity set. Normally, when a URL starts with employee set, so it will call one of the CRED queue operations of employee set, correct? But since there is a navigation property, so after 100001, I have kept slash two projects. It will take you to project set underscore get underscore entity set. So with that intention, SAP asks us to give the name starting with two projects. Two projects means take me to projects information of this particular employee. This is employee set of 100001. So this URL gives the information of a particular employee. Okay. And also take me to the project's information of this particular fellow. Take me to the project's information of this particular 100001. Now what happens? This method gets called. Project set underscore get underscore entity set method will be called, and inside this method this primary key will also be passed key. So all the primary keys are stored in the OData framework, in which internal table, guys. Can anybody tell me where all the primary keys that you are passing through the OData service URLs, so where they get saved? So let me open the method. So now we know that this is going to call project set underscore get underscore entity set. Let me redefine. So this URL is calling project set underscore get underscore entity set. Super. And it is also passing this 100001, which is the primary key. So when a primary key is passed through the OData service URL, can you tell me the OData framework automatically capture it and store it in which internal table? So you have all the internal tables in front of you. So tell me which
IT key
internal
tab,
table will be filled. Huh?
IT key tab.
IT key tab. Okay, so you just need to collect the primary key from IT key tab. So once you got this employee ID, can't you write select star from projects table where employee ID is this? We can write, right? So that's all. The logic is over. Now let me just go back. I will just copy the code to read from the IT key tab. Say this is the code that I'm copying, and let me go to project set underscore get entity set. So pretty simple, guys, if you understand the logic concept. Now I know that the primary key will be available in the project, IT underscore key underscore tab, which is the internal tables to store your primary keys with the key name of the key and the value pages. So I declared a structure for the same and read table IT key tab into ls key tab with the name equal to employee ID. Now the primary key will be available in ls underscore key underscore tab. So once I have the primary key in ls key tab, I will write select star from my projects table, okay, so where employee ID is this. So this particular statement will give all the projects of a corresponding employee, but I want to send these projects information to the front end, so I need to look for returning data parameter. Now this returning data parameter is et underscore entity set. So select star from this table and keep the results into this returning data parameter. So where employee ID is this. Now let's activate this method and see if you are getting the projects of a corresponding employee or not. Let's continue. I think we need to write into table. So this is a internal table. So we need to write into table. Let's continue. All right, now this is fine. Let's go back. Yeah, let's go to our URL. So this is the URL. Now, if I hit this URL, this will go and call your project set underscore get underscore entity set, and it will pass this primary key 100001. So Rahul's project information I should get now. So hit enter. Am I getting projects of Rahul? Let us see. I got the Rahul's project, that is gas distribution front office. Now let me keep Venki's employee ID here, and if I click enter, and you can see the claim management system, and I can also get AOC tracker, that is Apple's authorized center sales information. So 2 projects I got. Now, even now you might have a question, then Rizwan, what is the advantage you got? Still, you are hitting the URL. But if you see, there is a difference in the previous URL and this URL. This URL advantage is we are already binded this URL in our view to controller / employee set of something. Now, even to get the project's information, the URL is not so different. It is on the same line. It is on the same line. Okay. But if you go with the previous URL, that is project set. So you can also go with this URL, that is project set $$ filter equals to EMP ID space equals to 100001. Like this also you can get the data. But this is totally a different URL altogether. So in your second view, if you want to get the data of the employee data and the project data, you need to hit two different OData service URLs. So if you want to get employee data, one OData service URL, that is base URL / employee set of 100001. So this is one URL you need to hit to get the employee data. And to get the project's data, you need to hit a different URL again. So 2 different URLs you need to hit to the backend to get the data of an employee and to get the data of projects of an employee. But in this approach, in this particular approach that is suggested by SAP, you are not hitting two different URLs, but both the URLs on the same pipeline. This is employee setup 100002. So I will cut and show you 100002. This gives me Venki's data. And on the same pipeline, if two projects is there, then it gives you the projects of Venki. So that is the reason we create the association, and this navigation property helps you. And let us see the magical way to display the projects of the employee in the employee in our second page. So I'm going to, in the display fragment, I'm going to keep one table. So let's go to the display fragment. This is create. Yeah, this is display fragment. And after the simple form, I'm going to create a table, guys. Why this is not giving the suggestion? Yes, wait. Yeah, so it has given the suggestion, but slow. Now this is my table. We know that the table has the items binding. And in the items binding, I will simply write this navigation property to projects. Now let's create the columns. So we have around 5-6 columns. Column, text for the column, that is employee ID. Copy the column, paste, paste, paste. Employee ID, name, sorry, employee ID, project code. This is project code. This is project description. Sorry, client name. Then this is project code. Then we have the project description. Project description. And this is what else we have? Team size. And now coming to the once the columns are over, we need to write items. And inside the items, we have the column list item. You know how to display the table, so I'm not worrying about it, guys. So cells, and inside the cells, I need to display. So I will use the bindings. So this is EMP ID. Now let me copy this. This is PRJ project code. This is client name, then project name, then project PRJ description, and then this is team size. All right, now let's format this document. Now let's have a look at the output if we are getting the project's data of a particular employee or not. Seems there might be error. Let's take F12. Simple form table is not a valid aggregation of the content. Did I keep it inside the simple form? Okay, so a fragment should contain some outer UI element, guys. So it is a simple form, that's fine, and this is the table. So both should be in a container. So let me keep it in a VBox. So always remember the fragment, when the fragment is loaded, the fragment always points to some outer UI element. So there should be some container. Yeah, so I kept both of them in a VBox. Now nothing will happen. So now we can see the project's information of Winky. So let's go back and click on this Rahul. I should get Rahul's project information. Yes, I got it. And if you go back and click on Winky, so you should get the Winky's 2 project information. Okay. So here, let's keep this, let's beautify this one. This is not looking so nice. The project's information is having some multi-line, and we can keep a nice scroll bar. So let's do all that stuff. Once again. Now, even before that, you might be wondering how the project's data has come into this table. So I will tell you how this has come. To this particular table, we have done the items binding as 2 projects, right? So this particular items binding, when this get executed, guys, it checks with the items binding syntax. Now, what is the items binding syntax? Items binding syntax is model name, arrow mark slash entity set name. So this is the items binding syntax. But does it have any model name? No model name. But even if it is no model name, does it have any slash? It does not have the slash also, correct? It does not have. One second. Archana. Good morning, Archana. చెప్పండి 9 కా ఓకే yeah, there is a project call at 9. Yeah, I will just finish this. So whenever the items binding is done, so it always checks against the its syntax. The syntax is model name arrow mark slash entity set name. But is there any model name here? No model name. But even if there is no model name, I cannot conclude the OData model name because here there is no slash. Is there any slash here? No slash. Remember, guys, this is very, very important. You might be ignoring there is no slash, but slash is a very important part of the syntax. And after that, entity set name. Is this entity set name? No, this is not entity set name also. So in such a case, the items binding simply ignore this particular binding first. It checks, is there any parent binding that is done either to this table or to this view or to this any parent UI element of this table. So the table is present in VBox. So first it checks, is there any binding done to the VBox? No. Then again it goes to the top, and that is view. Is there any binding done to the view? Yes, there is a binding that is done to the view by writing this dot get view dot bind element. So it takes this binding first, okay, and appends this particular binding at the front of this binding and keep a slash like this. Automatically this is done by the UI5 framework. Now this particular items binding is nothing but slash employee set of employee ID slash 2 projects. So that is how it gets converted during the runtime, and that's the reason you are getting the project's information here, my dear friends. So in tomorrow's class, we'll beautify this. I have a call now. I will join. Yeah, so I hope you understand. So we are getting the data of corresponding employees. Okay, have a nice day, guys. We'll beautify the table tomorrow. Bye-bye.